Welcome to the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast.
For so many mobile app developers, it's an all-or-nothing battle out there in the App Store.
This AppInTop podcast is your mobile app marketing advantage.
Let's get that new app of yours moving to the top.
This is the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast.
And now your host, Michael Bauer.
Welcome to the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast, produced by AppInTop.com. You can find our daily blog, blog.appintop.com, and also make sure you track us down on Facebook at facebook.com/AppInTop. And for those of you who tweet, by all means, hit us up with any questions, thoughts, or comments on Twitter at AppInTop_com, AppInTop_com. The mobile game Kim Kardashian Hollywood launched on June 25th of this year by Glu Mobile, and it has taken the mobile gaming industry by storm. The game has catapulted to the top of the charts and made $1.6 million in the first 5 days after launch. That's 5 days. We've invited the CEO of Glu Mobile, Niccolo de Masi, to talk about leveraging the power of celebrity to promote mobile games. Niccolo, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Pleasure to be here, Michael.
So here we are, about to begin October 2014. What are the latest achievements of the Kim Kardashian Hollywood game thus far?
Well, I think what's exciting about this game is how long it stayed in the top grossing charts. As I said on my prior earnings call, this game may well be our biggest of the year. Depending on how long it stays in the top, 10, 20 grossing, it could be the biggest game Glu has ever launched to date from a commercial perspective. And we've achieved that really through quite a special partnership with Kim, creating what I think is the first real virtual world kind of overlap game experience, uniquely for not just her fan followers, but of course, it's a lot broader than that, as we're discovering.
Yeah, and we know that it's not just any game endorsed by Kim Kardashian. The whole concept is a role play. How did the idea of Kim Kardashian Hollywood come about? How did it go from concept to what we're now looking at?
So the idea to work with Kim was actually mine. It started out probably 18 months ago. We had an engine that we had built in one of our studios as far back as 2011, actually, and launched a couple of times. It was a game called Stardom: The A-List. Then we built a Stardom Hollywood that launched, maybe in early 2013, late 2012. And as we were thinking about the future of our Stardom engine, we realized there was probably an opportunity to turbocharge its popularity and appeal by finding the right, frankly, IP. So we thought long and hard about whether to take the product in the direction of a single persona or a category or a TV program versus an individual. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, as we thought more deeply about what the game was about, Stardom Hollywood was effectively the same aspiration or fantasy, if you can call it that, as a lot of people have worldwide, which is making it big in Hollywood, or making it big in a field of endeavor. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we realized that Kim had a brand that was unique and was a very similar aspiration for her fan base. So once we started digging into the size of her audience as well as the uniqueness of the match, we got, really quite enthused about the opportunity to do something quite special. So I approached her 18 months ago or more, and there was, admittedly some significant pre-production work that went into outlining what the concept could be.
Yeah, because I imagine when you're going to Kim Kardashian, you want to have a visual of that concept pretty clear.
Oh, of course. It's visual as well as concept, as well as timeline, as well as marketing, and of course what her involvement would be. She's a unique talent that cottoned on to the idea very quickly. So I think after sort of our first phone call, she was, I could sort of tell that she was probably going to get enthused about the opportunity to do something that could not only be, critically successful, but also commercially successful, and that's very much what we've delivered on together. I mean, this game has 200,000 or more 5-star reviews, and it's grossing well, and it's downloading well. So I think on every metric you could hope for, it's a good experience for fans, for Glu, for her. But she's been deeply involved with this game really from inception. She approves every single asset in the game. She and I probably trade sometimes a few emails a day.
Wow.
We probably talk every few weeks.
So she has that much input in how the game is going forward here.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a back and forth. It's an iterative process, but she has been, really highly responsive and a great partner. I couldn't ask for a better one. I think gaming IP partnerships are full historically of deals, including some that Glu has done in its last 10 years with partners, movie studios, whatever, who have been very passive and often difficult to get, approvals from, let alone any more than what was in the baseline contract.
Sure.
That.
Yeah, they just got, in essence, they want their name associated with it, but that's it.
Take your minimum and that's it.
Yeah.
And Kim's obviously, treated this very differently. She's treated very, very uniquely. We've done special things like, voiceovers in the game that no other game in the store has. So we've got Kim actually, speaking to the player with sort of phone calls. I don't know if you've played it or not, Michael, but I hope you will if you haven't. It's a pretty unique experience, which we've actually updated every 2 weeks since it's come out to almost synchronize with where she is in the world and what she's doing. And I think that's another big piece of what makes the game special is the fact that if you're a follower of Kim and she goes to Australia, how cool is that to have the game actually updated while she's in Australia to include, the down under content, so to speak, storyline. Right?
And to realize that at that same exact time, that's what's happening in her life. I mean, that it just makes you feel that much closer and that much more apart to what Kim's going through in her life.
Yep, exactly. And her demographic is very technologically savvy. It's very upmarket, believe it or not. These are the people that get the brand new iPhones when they come out. We can see that in the way that they play the game and what version of the OS they're on and so on. The demographic is broad. It's not only her 20, 30 million Facebook, Instagram, Twitter followers, but it's anyone who has that Hollywood aspiration, in my mind, of kind of making it there. And there's even a bigger sort of third demographic that I think we increasingly believe we're tapping into, which is kind of the young adult, late teen, category of people who want to feel that they're making, as you rightly identified, a role-playing kind of adult decisions.
Yeah.
Who do I work with? Who do I date? And when do I know if I'm working with the right people? So these are things we can all kind of relate to, regardless of what specific field of endeavor we're in.
Sure, I completely agree with that. When you, and I don't know how long it took you guys to make a solid pick on Kim Kardashian is one, if not the, that we're a celebrity we're going to make the pitch to on this. How do you go about that? Like, is it for you personally a phone call, an email? I mean, how do you reach out to Kim Kardashian or any other celebrity for that matter to try to gather their endorsement?
Well, and this wasn't an endorsement, right? This was sort of a partnership.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Correct.
I'm sure you can do endorsement deals, but those are very different.
Yes.
We've done a couple endorsement deals, maybe for Deer Hunter, and those are kind of a one weekend sort of, tweet. So, you look, broadly speaking, given the audience of your show, you have three paths, right? If you don't know the person in question directly, which is rare, you're trying to get in touch with either their agents or their management company. And all, let's say, A-list celebrities have both. They have a management company, and they have at least one, agency representing them. Sometimes more than one agency, depending on how broad their appeal is. So there are some personalities that have, one agency is doing their film work, and one is doing their interactive rights, and one has their, et cetera, et cetera. Kim, works with William Morris Endeavor, and so we actually initially contacted her through them. And yeah, look, you have to be patient. You have to put forward a highly professional proposal. And in my case, I was willing to demonstrate, CEO of a public company level commitment from the get-go because I did the entire, sort of, let's call it, partnership pitch process myself with her directly.
And was that a decision that you made? You said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the one that goes and talks to Kim directly about this.
Glu doesn't have a full-time corporate development or business development function. We're kind of unique in that. And the reason we do it is, believe it or not, we have more opportunities than we can execute on. And we like to have a really high bar.
Sure.
Whether it's an acquisition or a partnership. So what I like to say is, myself or CFO or president of publishing, there's 3 or 4 people that can of course do this kind of work. But ultimately, we want to be understaffed so that we only chase after opportunities that are unique. Kim, I knew would be the best in the world for this particular game engine. And so I look at it as like, well, it's not worth my time. If I don't think it's going to be a really big revenue spinner for Glu, then why are we doing it?
Right.
Which is the same way I approach every single acquisition we've done since I've been at Glu. And frankly, it's one of the reasons why Glu has not written down a single dollar of value from a single acquisition we've made, which is very unique in the game space, by the way. Most of our competitors have overpaid, made sloppier acquisitions, and I think it's the same on the significant high-level BD projects we undertake.
We were talking with Niccolo de Masi, the CEO of Glu Mobile. How long did the process take from idea to contract when it came with Kim Kardashian?
It took, a solid 6 months. It might be more in some cases. Now, remember, 6 to 9 months on our side is going to get compressed dramatically in any subsequent deal that Glu wants to do, or frankly, any subsequent deal that any competitor of ours could do, because we've effectively laid the groundwork for an entire new genre, right?
Sure.
So before this, there was no celebrity gaming. There was no belief in Hollywood that you could do anything other than a game with a movie title. And quite frankly, movie titles have had quite a broad range of outcomes, from a commercial perspective. There are some great ones, like The Hobbit, that used pre-existing engines, and there are a lot of terrible ones that have made very little money. I think the reception that we get now, being kind of the premier partner to work with as well as biggest in the industry, is obviously very different than when we spent considerable time trying to explain how free-to-play gaming could work with a celebrity brand, as well as the size of the mobile gaming opportunity, which grows every year. But if you're coming at the space from, potentially more established media, there's no doubt that there's a bigger lag while they kind of do their own diligence on the size of the commercial brand and critical acclaim that you could garner from such an opportunity.
Yeah, and with that 6 month time frame as well, is that when you started customizing the game for Kim and presentation for Kim, or had that been done a little while earlier?
Well, the whole process was about 18 months.
The whole process, gotcha.
That's sort of pitch to contract to development. These games take closer to a year than 6 months to do a good job of, which is important, because you get out what you put in this business, right? So you want a big revenue outcome, you want a high quality reviews, you're going to put in a high quality development team, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
And the game was not cheap to build. We built it all in North America, where talent is of course more expensive than offshore. But we knew that would get the better sort of cultural resonance that you need to really have what has happened here. I think this game is kind of part of the zeitgeist, so to speak, at this point. Most people have heard of it. Many people have played it.
Mm-hmm.
Many more will play it. And our job is to update the game and keep it, fresh and current, not only for close followers of Kim, but also people who are outside in those other Venn diagrams looking at the game as something that, is at this point becoming a little bit of a kind of cultural teen young adult phenomenon.
I would absolutely agree 110% with that. When we come back, user acquisition in mobile games is becoming more and more expensive. So is developing around a celebrity effective? More with CEO of Glu Mobile, Niccolo de Masi, in seconds here on the AppInTop podcast.
This podcast is produced with support from AppInTop, an automated mobile app marketing platform in App Store and Google Play.
This is the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast. I'm Mike Bauer. On June 25th, Kim Kardashian Hollywood, launched by Glu Mobile. It's safe to say, taking the gaming industry by storm. I would dare say whatever is bigger and harder and faster than a storm. $1.6 million in the first 5 days after launch. That may define leveraging the power of celebrity to promote mobile games. To discuss that with us is the CEO of Glu Mobile. He is Niccolo de Masi. Now, Niccolo, with user acquisition in mobile games becoming more and more expensive, unless a developer has a solid monetization model, the advertising costs, as you know, can be exceptionally prohibitive. How much more powerful are celebrities and the major brands such as Terminator or James Bond compared to a traditional mobile advertising?
Well, it's complementary, and it's kind of turbocharging for all the initiatives that we put in place anyway. So, remember, Glu is predominantly an original IP company. We focus deliberately on building, long-term value in brands that we own. And we promote our games through a mixture of, social media, as well as predominantly digital marketing with a little bit of above-the-line marketing occasionally. But to be honest, great content sells itself in a lot of ways. I'm sort of on the record for years now as saying that, at the end of the day, we build great games that install often up to 100 million times on their own merits and accord. In the long term, if you're a game publisher and developer, you're a content company. You're in the content space. I don't know too many movie company executives or even online, content portals like Yahoo that stand up and say every quarter, like, we crushed guidance not because our content was good, but because we did a better job of marketing it.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
At the end of the day, like, I sort of like to say that, the factors of 10 in our business come from content. Marketing can drive maybe a factor of 2 in success. But you cannot turn a game no one wants to play into a, popular success or commercial success simply from marketing. It's really sort of an additional, let's say, layering effect on top, or kind of, in the case of celebrity brands, turbocharging that can happen if you build a great game and it resonates with their audience, and you have a partnership in the social media as well as physical media that helps kind of build that, call it, brand halo effect overall.
Because I imagine worst case scenario is that you sign on whoever the celebrity is, and you get this incredible word of mouth, be it through social media, through whatever it is that they're doing to get this word of mouth and get the exposure, and then people download the game and go, wow, this is crap. What are we going to do here? I mean, it sounded to me like in preparation for what you guys did with Kim Kardashian Hollywood, there was a lot of let's make sure this is done right, is able to be updated, and then we're ready to launch with Kim Kardashian.
No, absolutely right. I mean, we are promoting that game heavily ourselves. We spend a significant portion of revenues on straight digital marketing, mobile digital marketing, and we do our own social media. We do our own, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Her effect is twofold. So having Kim's name, on the product helps drive discovery and awareness in the store. Having her, of course, tweet and and Facebook and Instagram helps on its own accord. But to be honest, it's the deep partnership of the IP and the look and the feel with very much her brand and the sort of aspiration of her fan base that I think gives it the enduring appeal. And at the end of the day, anyone that's got a lot of followers can tweet once. But if the game experience doesn't match the aspirations of the celebrity or the brand appeal, you will have no enduring, top free, top ranking positions. And to give you some great examples of that, I mean, Eminem made, I think, some games a few years ago for Facebook, and he would tweet or Instagram, whatever, and it would have a pop for a weekend, or even a week. But it wasn't the cultural phenomenon that this game is, because it didn't have the enduring traction. So, Kim, of course, if she wanted to, could promote one of Glu's shooter games, but I don't think it would match what her fans are looking for.
Would be expecting, yeah.
Exactly. So that resonance is really, really important. And I think that reason I went after her first was I don't think there's honestly a better brand for this aspiration, this game engine, and what she's all about. And she's a really serious commercial and artistic partner for us on this game, in the sense that she puts a lot of time in, not only during the game production but also the updates afterwards. And of course, working with me on how we get the update strategy and the promotion strategy to kind of ensure that 1 + 1 = 5, which is important.
18 million Twitter followers, 15 million Facebook fans, 11 million Instagram followers. We know that has to help as far as deploying the market to the game. With that, and obviously creating a fantastic product, how much do you attribute to what her social media was able to do as far as getting the exposure, as opposed to what's been able to be retained long term?
Well, it definitely helped early on. If you look at the installs of our game, before and after she tweeted the first time, there was a substantial pickup in the number of installs per hour that we were seeing. But at the level of installs we have today, the game has certainly moved beyond her direct followers. I think it's fair to say that we are getting people farther out than simply what she has following her directly on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So her brand appeal is bigger than that. her TV program is obviously on top of that. And I think what's quite unique about this experience is it enables a Kim fan, or even just a general, let's call it Hollywood aspirational follower, to connect with the concept whenever they want. So remember that her TV program's once a week. When you're not seeing that show, this is the way you can have a 5-minute interaction, or you can have an hour if you want. You control your experience. You're effectively carrying, Kim in your pocket, so to speak, as well as her world with you. And that's a lot of the appeal that we're finding in terms of the enduring retention that we see on the game.
Now, understandably, Kim Kardashian is an A-list U.S. celebrity. Does that, being a U.S. celebrity, affect the game ranking in other countries? Have you seen countries where the game is more difficult to market? Or I know Kim, we've seen her in Italy on the television show. We've seen her in different places, Australia, as you've mentioned earlier. How well is that her acceptance across the globe?
Well, this is public information. I mean, you can track the game's grossing and free rankings on both the Apple and Google Play stores, in 100 countries. What you will see is that, yes, I mean, there's no doubt she has a higher grossing ranking in English than other languages. So, her brand does work really well for interactive, gaming in the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the US. In terms of farther afield, yes, wherever she visits, you can, of course, expect an uptick in installs and revenue. Her show is syndicated in 130 countries, I think, or something like that. But we're just beginning to scratch the tip of the iceberg with regards to trying to localize the game in other languages. So right now it's only in English.
Okay.
We're trying to do other languages. It's obviously a never-ending, sort of challenge, because we are adding more content to the English version every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say, as she's updating and things are becoming, she's in Australia, she's doing the phone message thing, that's got to be very difficult for any kind of localization.
Well, it's hard to keep up with it, so we're going to have to accept that if we do other languages, there's going to be a bit of a lag to do a good job, because obviously the game is very narrative heavy. It's very text heavy. There's probably an entire novel worth of narrative in the game already, and we're only 2 or 3 months into this at this point, right? So imagine where the game will be in a year or two at the rate we're going.
Yeah. I'm curious in regards to sort of the demographics here. You mentioned earlier, and it makes absolute sense, that you're reaching an audience that is, definitively on their phone, using mobile. They're this is where they're going to get some of their Kim Kardashian news and updates. Do you find that the demographics mainly favor women playing the Kim Kardashian Hollywood? Are there men playing it as well?
Oh, absolutely, there's men playing it as well. I think one of the things with her brand that I've discovered as we sort of got this project underway is there are far more many followers of her TV program who are male than probably might admit it straight off the bat.
Right.
And there are far more followers who are male who are watching it because their significant others are tuning in,
right,
following her. It's more female, but it's not as if it's 90% female. It's far more balanced than that. We don't exactly know because, privacy is an important topic for Glu, sure, as well as Apple and Google. And so there is no tracking of, who you are, within the playing demographic.
That said, I'm curious if you think that a celebrity appeal could boost games that would be created for men. Personally, my wife jokes around about this all the time and says that I have a man crush on Jason Statham, star of the Transporter series and some of the Italian Job. If there was such a Jason Statham celebrity targeting a male audience type of game, do you think that could work as well?
We debate that, of course, intently weekly at Glu because we want to dominate the genre that we've now created in the celebrity gaming space. And we're thinking about, of course, the music space, the sports space, the male space, the male demo, so to speak. Yeah. And I think, there's opportunities to certainly do something in all of them. The question is aligning the fantasy. So I'd love your opinion, while we're on air here, Michael, is like, what would your aspiration be in a Jason Statham or an action star game? What would that be? We could do something with any number, I'm sure, of action stars, whether it's, Jason or it's a Sylvester Stallone or an Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, they're all probably relevant to some degree.
Yeah.
And our engine, is narrative. It's not an action engine. So one of the things I'd love everyone's opinion on, who's involved with Glu is how do you turn, a sports star or an action star's life or interaction with their life into a narrative RPG as opposed to an action game.
Yeah, I imagine that's got to be probably the bigger challenge at the end of the day. You can whittle down whatever names you want to put out there, be them the Colin Kaepernicks of the football world or Derek Jeters of the baseball world, but how do you make that narrative instead of action-based?
Absolutely, and I think there's obviously some celebrities that or stars, because really, I think about the Stardom engine, which is what we use for this game, as far broader than being about just Hollywood gaming. It's really about being excellent in your field.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're LeBron James, you're excellent in your field, but you're beginning to have a bit of a lifestyle appeal, and you also have a big social following. It's the same with, the Snoop Dogs of the world, right?
Yeah.
Who've become successful businessmen, Jay-Z, successful businessmen, on Dr. Dre, successful businessmen on top of being highly accomplished in their field. And I think that is important. A lot of, when I talk to people who've achieved in their field in these categories, working hard and then giving back to the community is sort of popular themes, as you might expect, for these people's stories. So I think that will be an important part of the narrative for us as we think about how we craft games around this, how we do the art style to try and find other subgenres of kind of the, let's call it, stardom engine space. We're also, of course, not ruling out opportunities to potentially add other celebrities into Kim's game. I mean, that's not an impossibility necessarily.
That sounds.
And I think that as we think about what Kim Kardashian Hollywood means, is there room for other people in her game? To have a cameo?
Sure.
It's possible.
I would imagine there's got to be some room on some level for Kanye. On some level, there's got to be room for Kanye there. Now, the possibility of integrating Twitter and other social media, especially when it comes to Kim Kardashian, within a game, and which of the Kim Kardashian Hollywood in-app purchases are the most popular when we return with Niccolo de Masi, CEO of Glu Mobile, in moments here on the AppInTop podcast.
This podcast is produced with support from AppInTop, an automated mobile app marketing platform in App Store and Google Play.
This indeed is the AppInTop mobile app marketing podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bauer. We would love to hear from you, so please send us your comments via Facebook, facebook.com/AppInTop, or tweet us your questions, comments, thoughts, all at AppInTop_com. That's AppInTop_com. Big names with big followings, maybe what it takes to generate a buzz and perhaps, load up on some of those in-app purchases within your game. For the house, we turn to our guest, CEO of Glu Mobile, the company that brought you Kim Kardashian Hollywood, Niccolo de Masi. Niccolo, what in-app purchases are most popular in the Kim Kardashian game?
Well, we generate our revenue through three sources. There's advertising, which in Glu games tends to be about 20% of revenue. The other 80% are microtransactions, in-app purchases. And of course, in-app purchases are only being conducted by 1 to 5% of our total audience.
Okay.
Right? So you have effectively 80% of revenue coming from 5% or fewer of the players, and then you have the other 20% of revenue coming from the other 95%. It's a very interesting business model that, of course, allows consumers to effectively vote with their thumbs, so to speak, over whether they want to spend more time or spend more money on their progression in the game. Our microtransactions fit into two categories primarily. You're either spending to acquire more energy in the game, or you're buying accessories and items. Gear, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't broken out, how much revenue we make from each, but energy, just to explain that a little bit, as items are pretty self-explanatory. It's clothing and that kind of thing. But energy is what allows you to get through the missions in the game.
Okay.
You need a certain amount of energy to complete a mission, and the more energy you have, the more missions you can do, either simultaneously or in a day before you kind of effectively rebuild your stamina or energy. So that is how the game effectively becomes a commercial proposition, if I can call it that.
Yeah. What ad sources work best for you in regards to the advertising and for your audience as well?
Well, we work with dozens of different ad networks. Actually, is our model. We like to believe that we have been one of the most progressive partners for the mobile ad ecosystem. Frankly, all the way back to 2010 when I started at Glu. We've been very aggressive with regards to working with partners who can deliver us, strong, high quality, high monetizing campaigns and are reliable. But we actually work with dozens of them today. So, Facebook has no doubt been picking up more market share in the last 18 months. I mean, their earnings calls, if you listen to them, are dominated today by the growth of mobile advertising in their total revenues. So obviously that is impacting, I think, smaller ad networks in our ecosystem. But it's helpful for a company like Glu, who wants to take advantage of Facebook's great targeting and their massive user base. Overseas, of course, it's different ad networks by country. So working with different people in a place like China and Korea than you would, and Japan than you would, in Canada, the U.S.
Now, is there a Twitter integration within the game? Is it possible that there should be a Twitter integration within this game?
There is. And we're very careful to distinguish between, of course, what's in-game versus a user's own Twitter account.
Correct.
I think there has, there was a sort of a famous example of, I think, a gentleman at the EPA who probably posted to the EPA account that he was playing Kim Kardashian Hollywood. When I get asked this question, what was that deliberate? Was it accidental? Well, look, I mean, when you've had a game in the top free as long as ours, and when you're in the top 10 free, you're getting hundreds of thousands of installs a day. So this game has had millions of installs, probably tens of millions if you wanted to sort of triangulate the data. Mm-hmm. It's not hard to have one or two people, do something like that when you have a large audience base. But we certainly see, no confusion amongst our user base. And if you read the reviews of our game, they're almost all 5 stars. And what that means is that the experience is high quality, transparent, clear, exactly what people are expecting when they play it. And I feel good about the fact that we're getting better reviews of that game than almost anything else in the top 10 or 20 grossing in the store. And it's actually arguably the best reviewed game that the Glu's put out in a long time.
So would you call the Twitter integration in that effective then as a marketing channel, as a means to attaining and exposing the game?
That's not the reason why we have the integration. We have it in there because we want players to be able to feel closer to Kim in terms of what her daily routine is. So people want to feel like they are climbing the A-list in Hollywood. One of the things that's obviously important to do that these days, as Kim has demonstrated, is being strong with social media. And so that's the reason it's in there, to sort of add authenticity.
Gotcha.
We have virtually no, I won't say no installs, but very few installs are ever being triggered by players tweeting themselves. The majority is from, of course, Kim and Glu, and of course the broader kind of cultural appeal that the game and her name resonance has.
We are talking with CEO of Glu Mobile, Niccolo de Masi, here on the AppInTop podcast. You guys have recently launched Dino Hunter Deadly Shores. I'm imagining, as we talked a little bit about earlier and kind of joked about, that's not necessarily something you cross-promote with the Kim Kardashian game.
Michael, it's exactly the same demographic as you can imagine.
I guess the Dino Hunter is right in line with what Kim's up to these days.
Exactly. That's, very demographic, you're right, and Glu prides itself on being arguably the most diversified gaming company of our size. So we're in casual, we're in racing, we're in action, and we're in all three of them in a big way.
Yeah, you guys have range, that's for sure.
Absolutely. We just acquired the number one racing game in the App Store from a grossing perspective, which is called Racing Rivals. Our strategy is to be diversified, but to be in genres where we can be the best in the world. So, we're the best in the world at deer hunting, dino hunting, contract killing, all big action brands for us.
Right.
As are Eternity Warriors and Frontline Commando. We sequel all those games every couple of years. We're also in casual with, our Kim Kardashian title, and with our Diner Dash launch that's coming up actually later this month. Another big casual brand that you might remember from the last 5-10 years in the PC space that we're bringing to mobile.
Nice. With that, do you see any of those being cross-promoted in the Kim Kardashian game?
We don't do a lot of cross promotion as a company.
Okay.
What we tend to do is we look at the opportunity cost of driving an install, and if someone else is paying us $7 for an install, but our internal lifetime value is only $1 or $2, we tend to sell the install through advertising. So it's possible that you will get some ads, from Diner Dash in the Kim game. It's unlikely that we will promote, Dino Hunter in a Kardashian game because you won't get the quality user that you want.
You might get a lot of confusion if you did something like that.
Exactly, that as well. So we have a sizable publishing team that specializes on marketing and advertising, and they're really kind of, I'd say, the best in class at this. We've always worked hard at what we do in advertising, and we're very scientific about it. So no, I mean we have no religion about this. We do what is best for the product. We do what's best for the new game as well as the existing game. But we certainly will never trade users in Kim's game for frankly any other title because we're seeing that her users retain very well and they monetize very well relative to other Glu games. And that's very exciting for us because it proves that the quality of an audience can impact fundamental underlying metrics in the interactive space.
Niccolo, last question that I've got for you, and it's in regards to your future plans. Take me 18 months down the road here. Are you planning to reuse the game engine to produce similar games in collaboration with other celebrities? Has that been talked about at length? And what would we be looking forward to? Could we say we'll be looking forward to another celebrity-type game in the next 18 months?
Well, we're certainly never going to do anything that cannibalizes or competes with Kim's game head-on. So we're not going to be doing other things in the reality space. You can be sure of that. Would we do things, as I said, in the sports space or the music space? Yes, we've said on my last earnings call that we are investigating it, contemplating it. We have a very high bar of who we work with because we need to see an equal commitment back from our sort of, call it, IP partner to promote the game and be deeply involved. And it takes a real time commitment. So it isn't as trivial as saying, you're famous and I have a lot of followers. What we need is, the commitment to be a good partner, to approve things, to roll with me in a very kind of, let's say, high-touch, concierge-type manner, if you can call it that. Mm-hmm. And I want to be working with people who are directly involved. If I'm going to put my personal time, and I've got a company with, 650 employees, and we're public and we're worldwide, but, I'm doing this personally with Kim. I want to work with other people that similarly have a big following, have a brand that can fit the role-playing game engine, but also are so in love and so involved that want to be doing the work directly with me. It will be fewer, bigger partnerships as opposed to certainly a volumetric approach. We don't believe the App Store is going to support a dozen of these types of games. We're the market leader. We want to, as priority one, we want to keep ourselves in pole position. We want to keep this game going for many years. So our top priority actually is feeding effectively, the user base with the content they demand and keeping them, compellingly engaged with the product. We just actually extended our partnership with Kim. This is public information as well a couple weeks ago. So nice. We're going to be prioritizing working with her above all else. And I think in a lot of ways, the question I always ask myself is, how do I keep her game in the top 10 grossing, for 5 years, as opposed to 5 months or even 5 quarters? Because I think her brand's going to get bigger. I think that we are complementary to each other's brands. And as I alluded to earlier, we're not only investigating new avenues for the engine, we're also looking at how we can broaden out the appeal of her game and deepen the appeal. So talking to lots of celebrities and lots of IP, nothing is announced yet. But you can be sure that we intend to continue dominating a sector that we very much pioneered and invented in the past 3 months.
And I think that what I'm hearing from you, Niccolo, is that at the same time, when you're talking about these celebrities and people that you're interested in and talking with, there's got to be as much of an investment on their behalf as there is on your behalf. And in the case of what we're seeing with Kim, that's setting an incredible standard for somebody who's willing to take the time out of her very busy schedule, do the updates, be a very active part of this game. And that's the screening process that you're going through. I would say not so much luck that you guys were able to have that with Kim, more so your screening process.
It's the screening process and it's the authenticity.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
I'm working with her directly. Kim's working with me directly. She does her own Facebook, Twitter, Instagram posts herself. She doesn't outsource it like I think some people probably do at some level. And she's also similarly engaged down to the level of, I kid you not, those shoes don't match that dress. I wouldn't wear that. I wouldn't go. I mean, literally, and that's what her fans love, right? Is the fact that it's
absolutely
so personalized, it's so authentic. When you're playing it, it has her mark all over it. And for us, it's been a great experience because it's a unique game. We love delighting gamers as much as she does. We love the critical acclaim at least as much as the commercial acclaim. And I think most people who play the game, and I'll maybe leave you with this, have found that the game experience is much deeper, much more thought through. There's humor in it. There's sarcasm. There's a progressive, political message in it. And I think all of that has really added to the depth and the phenomenon, which has been much, much more than I think what some players thought they would find when they first downloaded the game. But it's very much just scratching the surface of what we think we can do with her and the brand over the next few years.
Niccolo, for the past 40-plus minutes, you've walked us through the peaks and what could be valleys of trying to get a celebrity endorsement for your game, and you've explained the effectiveness of using a celebrity channel to gain movement and monetize, and what it takes, the authenticity that it takes, and the reality that it takes in order, and commitment from said celebrity to make that work. So, Niccolo, thank you so much for your time. You're now officially free to go.
Thank you so much, and obviously watch this space, and Michael, I'll look out for my revenue share in the post. No, I'm kidding.
That's great. Thank you so much, Niccolo. I appreciate it. And to all of you, thank you so much for listening. This has been the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast. Make sure you visit our daily blog, blog.appintop.com, where you can find all this great information and much, much more every single day. Until next time, I'm Mike Bauer. See ya.
The AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast is produced by
AppInTop.com.